Let's get you caught up on COVID now. Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health says he hopes immunization policy requirements, including ones for hospital employees, end on March 1st. That's another step towards moving forward and out of COVID. More on that in a moment. But first, I want to tell you about how the Ford government plans to help students recover learning after 2 years of COVID disruptions.
I'm proud to announce a plan to support learning recovery, focus on academic achievement, and the mental well-being of our province's next generation.
The Education Minister today announcing standardized testing will resume this spring after a 2-year pause. He says it will help identify where students have fallen behind. Ontario schools were closed more than anywhere else in the country and much of the U.S. during COVID.
We know that so many students have realized gaps in some of the foundations of learning. And so our government today, following great advice from student leaders, from school boards and parents and so many others, we're announcing $175 million of tutoring expansion in publicly funded schools, the single largest expansion of tutoring ever.
The province will spend $26.1 billion on education during the next school year. That's a 2.7% increase. There will also be $90 million for mental health and student well-being. Now, the government is also instructing boards to continue to offer online learning for another school year. The NDP is critical of today's announcement and says it is not spending enough to keep up with inflation. Now, to the Chief Medical Officer of Health. Today, he declared the worst of the pandemic is behind us, and he says on March 1st, which is the day proof of vaccination is no longer required to get into a restaurant or gym, he'd like to see the government's mandate for vaccination policies removed.
That's my goal, is to have those immunization policies removed by the 1st. They have done their intended purpose, was to improve immunization, to further protect Ontarians. I thank all Ontarians that have come forward to get vaccinated, but they have served their purpose to protect us. And as any public health measure, they have to be removed in a timely manner.
So what that means is the government is removing its mandate to employers, like hospitals, that they must have an immunization policy in place. So now and it always has been, it's up to employees or employers to decide if they will continue with them or drop their requirements. What does that mean for workers who did not get vaccinated or have been unable to work, or those who lost their jobs because they weren't vaccinated? Dr. Moore says it's up to the employers to decide.